seems to me like I had one of those once.
What's that? When my buddy moved to go to Microsoft, I've got like a bin full of stuff he had all kinds of weird stuff, and I never did get rid of any of it because some of the connector cables and stuff in it were just expensive stuff, like SATA converter cables. And
there used to be a laptop repair shop on I think 16 in Kentucky.
Taylor Mill.
Yeah, that area. And they always had bins of stuff. And they had no idea what it was. It was just cards and whatnot. And I went in there once and they had 4 or 5 cards. I had no idea what this is. And that irritates me. I must know.
yeah,
So it was like $2 for a card. So I bought it. I bought one. Go home and start researching it. And it's a communications card for industrial stuff. And it's $2,000. It was the first thing I ever had my wife sell on eBay. And it sold within like 4 hours.
Yeah.
I was amazed. I'm like,
you go back and buy the other 3.
I'll be back. Yeah. Yep, went and got the rest of them. I used to buy so much stuff out of their bins. I'm trying to remember what the name of the place was. Got nothing.
You know, Mendelssohn's is
Yeah, they're in their final year. 3 months to a year, something like that.
they it's either tonight or tomorrow they're having a online auction of part of their stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss that then. Oh, well.
I went through a lot of it, and most of it was like the jewelry cases and the display cases and that kind of stuff. It was like,
The stuff
I don't
they want,
need
like
any of that crap.
$500 for a busted up piece of board.
They have one thing up there that I'm going to go up, and if it's still there, I'll offer them $100 for it. But they want $600 for a paper cutter, and it's a beautiful piece of cast iron, and maybe to somebody it's worth that much, but to me it's $100.
They've got they had some large paper cutters up there when we were up there a couple of weeks ago, but I didn't see the cast iron one.
Oh, this one's this tall,
Yeah.
and it's got a 3-foot square table and a lever.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I missed. Maybe I didn't know what it was. Maybe
Yeah.
it's still
Yeah,
there.
Well, it's an old school one, isn't it?
No, this is out of a printing company. It has a big hand wheel on top,
Mm-hmm.
and you put your paper under, spin
Yeah,
that, it clamps down.
I missed that one.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that they still had up there, they only wanted a couple $100 for. They were the big green ones,
Mhm.
big suckers.
Yeah.
With the
Were you actually running the cutter on those?
yeah,
Are we
the
talking the blade on the right hand side?
you have the manual cutter, so
Okay.
you pull it down.
Yeah, those don't work as well. The ones where it actually clamps the paper
Yeah.
and the blade comes through and slices, those will go through
Everything.
8 inches of paper,
Yeah.
and they'll all be exactly the same size.
Yeah. No, I didn't see that one up there, but I saw a bunch of they had a bunch of the large paper cutters. That we cut.
But
I don't know. They were huge. They were way larger than a normal paper cutter.
paper cutters are the one thing that I seriously miss about working in a printing company. I used to print manuals and stuff. I mean, if I wanted a 1,000-page manual printed, okay, that'll only take 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Cool. And then you go slice everything down and drill it for the small notebooks.
We had. Have you ever used a risograph?
Don't recognize the name.
It's a hybrid between a printing machine with the drum printer
Okay.
and a laser printer.
Okay.
So it's really, really fast. So it takes, hook it up to your computer, it works like a laser printer. Send it files, and it inks up
Oh,
the
so it
drum.
would make copies.
No, it's a drum printer. It'll print whatever you send to it.
Okay. Huh.
But it inks up the drum like a old school
Mimeograph.
mimeograph
No,
machine,
that was a transfer. Yeah.
and it'll Zox them off. You could do. God, I think we were doing 1,000 copies a minute or something like that off of it. I mean, it freaking fast machines, and the only problem was they were so fast that if they missed a page,
Mm-hmm.
they would jam
Never
up.
noticed.
Well, you would either get a
Crumble.
jam like instantly, or it would.
Be like I have a dozen pages.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would either have a jam instantly, or it would miss several pages at one time.
What we had were Xerox 6135s, 135, 140 page
Yeah.
per minute, with each printer. We had 7 of those things, and each printer had its own dedicated Sun Fiery
Yeah.
workstation next to it with a $1,200 monitor.
This thing, it had it wasn't a Sun. It had a dedicated print server that you.
Yeah. Yeah, Xerox made a bunch of fiery stuff too.
Yeah.
They had some custom Xilinx chips in those things.
I think Xerox ended up buying Risograph.
Oh, really? Yeah,
Yeah.
that wouldn't surprise me.
I think, yeah, and then they just sort of disappeared.
Whatever happened to Xerox's phasers?
Phasers.
The original
Well, that
ones.
was the Tektronix phaser. Tektronix made the phaser.
Well,
Xerox bought it, and that turned into the.
That's right. The Tektronix, I guess it was, but I thought Xerox had already bought them when they demoed that. But
Well,
they
still
took to
called
like
them phaser for about 3 or 4 years.
yeah. But
And the phasers were the color ones, and then they kind of moved into the crayon printers.
That's right.
yeah. Well, that's what I was saying. The one I was showed took like
It was
one
a
inch
crayon
by
thing.
1 inch square crayon
Mhm.
rods, and it was cheap as dirt
Yeah.
for stuff for it. But I never like my mom's office got one, and of course it was instead of the cartridges being like $4 an ink, they took like a toner cartridge, and it was like $300 a cartridge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
After
these are the new phasers. You're talking about.
Is
I remember
Tektronix still-
those. They were
still
crayons.
viable?
yeah.
It was like a crayon
Tektronix
pack.
still makes oscilloscopes, but they no longer make printers. They
Okay.
sold that division. But Tektronix is still a company.
Okay.
But
Yeah, there it is.
No,
That
that's-
glorious printer.
That is.
No, those are toner cartridges.
That's
laser.
toner based. Yeah.
Yeah. I said I don't think they still do the crayon anymore. I was just curious why they ever quit because I thought that was slick as dirt.
And they smelled so good.
Is that what it was?
And they made
Smelled?
such nice slick copies.
Yeah. And they were waterproof, but they were not gasoline proof.
But that's why I remember them demoing it when they first came out to me, and I was like, dude, that's awesome. And then in fact, it was like $8 or something for each crayon. The crayon was good for like 5,000 pages or something nuts.
And you could drop in another one before it was done.
Yeah.
You had room for 3 crayons in there. They're the 850. First and second column, or second row down one.
After another tomorrow. Oh, is it after 9? Oh, okay.
One of the other interesting things,
That's the one we have. We had one of those.
I know the 850 can also print on glass, and people use it to make negatives for doing circuit boards.
Really?
Yeah, you do photoresist circuit boards with it.
It makes me miss. It makes me miss that stuff. We had one. Me and my partner, when we had the computer shop, we had one of those. Made some of the coolest copy until I don't think we could get the crayons for it. I think.
Oh, really?
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. The crayons probably became really stupidly hard to find after.
I remember when Xerox was pushing those things, and they would give you the printer. They'll give you the printer, and you agree to buy crayons for them for 3 years or something. And we did so little color work, it just didn't make sense. But yeah, they were pretty. I know Debco had 4 or 5 of those things at one point, and I regret not picking one up.
That we didn't do a whole lot of color stuff, but that was one of the reasons why we liked that, because it didn't go bad. They just could sit there forever.
Yeah.
That was exactly why I liked them.
Yeah.
And you didn't have to clean them like the inkjets.
Yeah, they had to heat up for
20 minutes.
a
A
few
long
minutes.
time.
Yeah, a few minutes. They were not the fastest things in the. They were
20 pages per minute.
They were all right once they got heated up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but nothing printed all that fast back then.
There was some fast stuff, but
Few, and
you were paying for
I
it.
was gonna say, yeah.
Epson is advertising inkjet printers on TV
Really?
with the bottles. They're not the cartridge, the bottles, and saying, "Ain't this wonderful? You can buy lots of ink." I'm like,
eco-friendly.
Yeah.
but everybody knows what the deal is, right? You're gonna lose the head is gonna stop up, and you're done.
Quality. Yeah,
I will
Clean
give
it in
this one of the
ultrasonic
things
cleaner.
you can do. Run a sheet of paper through soap and alcohol
Oh,
and
okay.
print on it, and that will clean up the head on most of those pretty well.
Oh, okay.
Use the 72%
I remember that.
alcohol. It's got water in
Somebody
it,
else
and
remembers
that'll
it.
I was just saying.
save the rubber rollers and
We
stuff.
miss you, Phaser Burner. We miss you, Phaser. I used to think it was cool because it sounded Star Trek-y. It's a phaser. We've got a phaser right here.
Ah, the good old days. Anyhow.
Somebody just texted somebody. It's Vicente.
Just in time.
Oh, okay.
Walk down memory lane. I almost forgot about that thing. I want that. I want it.
See what you started, Steve. Steve won't let it go.
We should have come up with workers. Kit Kats. No Kit Kat.
Give me a break. Give me a break. Are you a left Kit Kat or a right Kit Kat?
No, that's the
No, that's
Twix.
Twix.
Oh,
Ah, they're on it, boy. I'm telling
Ah.
you, they straighten you out real quick.
they did.
Kit Kats. Well, there's left, right, and middle, and left, middle, right, middle.
I used to work in the boys club, and I used to go there after school. I used to get sick on those things. But we eat so much. Oh, my God.
You want to see the video?
You're driving.
Yeah, but you're in charge.
Oh, I am?
I don't know. Are you?
Probably not.
Vicente might not want to see the video.
Unless Marcus puts me in.
Me?
The video or the video?
Oh, shit.
I videoed you taking a video.
Can't remember to get the
Oh,
stars
you
of the show on video.
I thought he was controlling it for a minute there.
Nope, I actually controlled that. I was actually controlling that from that web interface right there.
It's moving really nice.
That's it.
You always are looking in the same direction.
That's it. That's all there is. Because I only did one video. Vicente's videos are better, but I sort of accidentally erased them off my phone.
WhatsApp. I send you a video.
Yeah, I sort of accidentally got it off my phone. I sort of
Woofed it.
I sort of messed up.
It's not stored in the cloud.
Well, it might be.
Just call the FBI and tell them you need it
can send
restored.
it to your email.
Oh, St. Petersburg.
So yeah, I need to undelete my email.
My boss's boss is trying to get quotes right now for moving our primary application to the cloud. Really? So I started up counters on the interfaces to see how much data we're talking about. And the data between the primary application and the database is 36 gigs a day.
No.
The data between the application and the users is about 50 gigs a day. And Amazon charges by the gig downloaded. I'm like, well, that's going to cost you about $180,000 a year just to put it there.
You know.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, and that's not counting CPU time, right?
Yeah,
Because they charge for that too.
yeah, and it's pretty CPU intensive. I mean, it spends a lot of time creating things.
Yeah.
So what did you say after you gave them that bit of statistics?
This is the same video that I took,
I haven't
only
heard any feedback yet.
from Vicente's point of view.
First person view.
Me risking my life. I feel risking life there.
Oh, you were in harm's way.
I hoping that the software just keep moving in the right direction.
Now, what happens if you walked in front of it and
It
does it stop?
it should stop, yes.
Who's that crazy person on
And
the
then
floor?
we've got crazy person laying on the floor.
I was trying to take a nap and these guys kept running the robot around.
And finding the Uruku marker.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we did last week.
That's pretty cool.
And I guess we're going to make it do circles this week. Half circles.
Half circles.
What is the significance of half circles?
Double circles.
Double circle.
8.
Figure 8.
Oh, it's just sort of taking it through its paces. See if it can-
Because there is another robot on the make that we follow him. We follow it in the 8 pattern.
So, okay. So it's sort of a agility type test. Have you tried it yet and it failed or something? Or
No,
Haven't
the-
tried it at all yet.
Oh, okay.
The follower is being created now.
Okay. So the follower that's being created is going to follow it on the figure 8. Is that what you're?
In
Yeah.
theory.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, it can follow.
You got to start with the theory first, right? I mean, if you don't start there, you.
Got to get a figure 8 first.
Okay. That's, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So I mean, the figure 8, will be 2 circles.
Right.
Just trying to, so we don't have an encoder yet, so I'm thinking we can use possibly the Anaruko for our transition reference.
How are you going to do that?
Very carefully. Isn't that what they said
how
on
you gonna
Gizmo?
put it? That's interesting.
No, I mean, we haven't done it yet. It
Right.
won't be perfect, but
Right.
in
Yeah.
the absence of. like,
So really,
having-
the goal is to build the follow the rukus around.
Yeah.
If you've got a marker on each side of the room, you can tell it turn left until you see this one, at which point begin turning right. I don't know.
You really only
No,
need
then
one.
it's gonna see that one again, yeah.
Yeah, you just need the one.
Yeah,
You just need one?
yeah.
Aruco.
So there's
if-
one
yeah.
here, turn left until you see it. Now it sees it, it's straight ahead. Turn right until you see it again, it's straight ahead.
Yeah, so
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
if you're traveling counterclockwise, then you see the Aruco over here.
Right.
Then you're traveling clockwise and you see the Aruco over here. So that's when you know.
So
to
basically, every
switch.
time it sees it, it just flips direction.
Yeah, so it just starts turning, it just turns in, okay.
Huh.
That's interesting.
Well, and then the variable will be the diameter,
Right,
radius,
the radius
of the
curves.
circles.
Right, right.
I mean, in a perfect world, at some point we'll get it so it follows no matter where we drive it with the leader with the joystick.
Right.
The follower at some point will be good enough, we hope, to follow sharp turns and everything else. But right now it can't follow sharp turns probably, and we're going to start simple.
So you're creating a follower, so the follower is some,
Yeah, but this will, the leader will, the follower won't have electronics and program and everything for a week or two. Its frame is being built now, and the guy that's building the frame is really slow. So he usually overpromises. this guy I'm dealing with, and so anyway, the to achieve the figure eight will be in parallel with the follower being brought up to speed.
This is part of, because you can't really see all of it. This is part of the website interface where I could go drive, go home. This is the old version. The new version actually says more. I don't have a. There's a mode switch, so come here and go home are for Aruco markers. So you flip the mode switch and you can start using these two buttons. Otherwise, you just get to drive it around with the little joypad.
right.
So if the mode's off, you get to drive it around with that, and if the mode's on, we could do that. And up here, it tells you which mode you're in and what it's actually doing. So if it's actually moving, it will actually say moving forward or turning left or turning right or stuff like that.
So go home, I can understand. It has some idea of where it's at, and it has a thing to find. How does it do come here?
There's the current setup is like that video. There's 3 Aruco markers.
Oh, okay,
So where did that video go?
Yeah, the come here
Oh.
assumes the guy is sitting at the far marker.
Okay.
And
So you can see here, there's a marker here on this board, a marker here, and a marker here. This is one of the actual tests that actually failed. But it'll drive out, and then it will search for the next marker. So this is the go home marker, the closest
Okay.
one, and the farthest away one is the come here marker. And the center marker is just sort of like a reference point, so that it sort of kind of
go around an obstacle. Like if there's an
Yes,
obstacle
this-
in the middle of the room, then this has. It's not, just a straight line. It's a.
this particular version though, the website would lock up, so you would have to reset the robot every time. The one that we did last week, the website wasn't freezing up and locking up, so you could just change it. You could actually switch it off and use the joystick
Mm-hmm.
while it was still in transition.
Cool.
more or less, and I figured out that. But so this one of these, probably this one, where this one here, I probably said to go home because he's over there at the come here. And the website's locked up and we can't do anything else, but it's still going to come to us. Yay!
But it can't be too locked up. It's just doing something you weren't expecting.
It's not the robot wasn't locked up, the website was locked up.
But that was an older version, right? When that happened.
That was, yeah. But this particular video, you can see all three markers, more or less.
Oh, I see. So that's, yeah, showing that. Yeah.
So, you know, if you were, that's what it's doing. That's what the go home and come here mean is go to one of those markers.
Cool.
So next week there should be a figure 8 button also.
What was that?
I don't know. I didn't hear a whole lot of enthusiasm for the figure 8.
Following a straight line for
Yeah, I have to.
tricky
Yeah, you
enough.
know, grunt, no.
No.
Like the grunt. The project manager shoot down to the grunt.
You know, I don't have a whole lot of room. I'm thinking we're going to be doing a lot of playing in the big room to get it to work.
Perfect.
Because I don't have a whole lot of room to play with that.
We'll do it in about a half hour.
This happened. Piece of cake. Piece of cake. Sales guy speaking.
That's all I got. What you got? You got anything? You got anything going on?
No.
What do you mean no? That's impossible. That's impossible.
By
Yeah,
Sunday,
we don't buy that
they
for a
always
heartbeat, eh?
got something going
I
on.
have like a dozen of things I'm doing, but none of them is finished or anything.
That's impossible. There's no way.
You got anything going on, Marcus?
I was working with you know, the free RTOS operating
Oh, yes,
system,
right, yeah.
multitasking.
Uh-huh.
I am using the same microcontroller, the SP32, and I put OTA over the air updates.
Yep.
I put the same web page, this, and additional tasks all running together to check that it works.
Multitasking.
Okay?
Right.
Now I want to put the encoders of both wheels also as a task, and several tasks are sending messages between them, and there are queues of messages and semaphores and stuff. I'm trying to get familiar with all those stuff because the robot need to do a lot of things simultaneously.
Same time, right? Simultaneously.
The sensors, I mean proximity sensors or infrared sensors, also you need them in a task working all the time.
Right.
And this task has high priority and will send to the robot movement task, just stop, something's happened, as a message. And everything is like task ruling and task talking one to each other. You can send from a task to the web page messages.
Oh, that's
You
a
can
cool
send from the web page messages to any task.
Printing a cartridge holder.
The
I take
OT,
pictures of weird stuff, don't I?
OTA task can stop all the tasks
Makes sense.
to load
Right.
new code, because you can be loading new code and still running the former code, the last code. But it's not a good idea.
Yeah.
Because the switching
It's
is
like normal picture for
is
example.
So how will that fit on a ESP32?
well, it has two cores
Right.
running at
Looks exactly like my mom's phone, except with
240
robots.
megahertz. It's a lot of speed, and there are two cores. One core is in charge of all the web page and
Okay.
radio
Okay.
communications,
Okay.
and the other core mainly works with the Arduino sketches.
Okay.
But each time you declare a new task, you can tell the task you will run in the core number 1 or in the core number 2, and you can after a while just balance everything. There is a free app that
It's been helping for a couple of years.
that introduce messages in your
Oh, she's a good helper.
code and sends data to the app, and you can check all the activity with bars and percentage of use of microcontroller and this to balance the CPU.
It's got a mind of its own.
CPU.
It's chasing me.
Alright, I got the camera. Got the camera on.
She's taking pictures.
Ready?
Oh,
Ready?
Yep, I'm ready. Got it.
Good job. Just get in its way.
You're gonna make her out an engineer yet, aren't you?
she is my little helper.
when she will start to code the figure 8.
I wish
She's probably,
she could.
she's
I wish
probably
she
got
could
it
do
done.
that.
She's probably.
Yeah, really. She's like, does this work? And he's like,
Is this what you want?
yeah, he's like, that's what's gonna happen eventually.
I'm going to go. Yeah.
I know, right? It's always great when they take over, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Women like to keep them when they're young. We want them to grow up and so we can communicate. Yes.
Oh, she goes over to it. She switches it on and she says, "Come on, big boy, let's go and do some stuff." I'm like, "Oh, I guess that means somebody's got to turn on the website and start driving it," because she doesn't fully understand that somebody is sitting behind.
Yeah, behind
The
him.
man behind the curtain.
Yeah.
It's not completely anonymous yet,
Yeah.
or autonomous.
I've got a video of her writing that one. I think I showed that. Let's see if I can find it.
You have the video.
She was at. It was very, very early.
Yeah.
We were outside, and it was just to make sure that the motors were working when she was writing it.
So you asked me what am I work? One of the things that I've been wanting to do for a long time, hopefully I'll get the time to do it, is to really do a GPS tracker. You know, to make something with a GPS tracker. So what I decided to do is go back to Particle IO. I think you ever heard of Particle?
Yeah.
Particle is in. I know, yeah. So they're a company that started off. They actually started off creating. They called it the Core, and they were actually doing this sort of. They started with a product, and I think they were just like create lamps, basically, just lamps that you could turn on, I believe. And then they moved to they said, okay, what we need to do is create some hardware, and they called it Core. And then, and this has probably been over 4 years now, because I started following almost when they first came out.
It's
And
probably been longer than that.
and they've really gotten their act together now, where they actually have the IoT infrastructure, meaning the website, the security part. They have a lot of. I think they said that they have over 100,000 deployments because they actually sell the hardware. So they sell the hardware, the microprocessor. They sell that, and they also sell a web interface for it. So so basically, when you want to use their hardware, you actually have to what they call claim. So you have to actually claim the hardware. So they'll give you the hardware. You claim the hardware to their website. So their website, so it's a secure connection of all the data that's going back and forth between your hardware and their website. So I decided to start looking at their hardware in order to do some type of GPS tracker, just because they have everything. And also the other thing about GPS tracker, you got to sort of go with some type of phone connection. And they have actually gotten there. First they were doing the G3, is that right? G2, G3, and now they're at LTE. So, and they've been able to keep the price down, so you can actually have a a cellular connection with, you know, I think it's like, I forget the data, and I'll get this together once I show it, but I can't remember how much, but it's like you have a certain amount of data, and it's like $2.99 a month. So I'm just like, okay, I can deal with that. So, oh yeah, there it is. In the so the boron, I have the boron, that's not the,
That's part of their message.
yeah, it's the E series. Go up a little bit, because that the E series is actually there. It should be another
What was the first thing they made?
proton. Yeah,
I
proton.
still have one proton working.
Right.
So, the humidity and temperature from my house is in a web page since 4 years ago.
And it's still working?
there.
Yeah. So it's,
Good.
and that's actually, that's not the sort of the development version. That's actually
just the core.
Yeah, that's the right. So if you are, and what they do is they help people go from a prototype to an actual production where you actually want to, you know, create thousands of units and push them out, you know, to the real world. So they actually, their goal was to allow people, number one, to go in and do the, I said that backwards, I meant 2G and 3G, I'm not saying 3G. But, and so the boron, I think, the boron is actually what I'll be ordering. I haven't ordered it yet, but that's actually what I'll be ordering. Actually, I have one of the old electrons. The electron was one, they call this their third generation, so they've been through, you know, basically 3 cycles, and they're on the 3rd generation now.
How much is a boron?
Look that up.
Yep. 3 megs a day. I was just wondering. It doesn't really say how much it is.
They're not cheap. They're because you get access to their
an ecosystem of
you get access to
possibilities, you know, it's-
right. So you get access to their website and all that
$60.
stuff. Yeah, so it's not cheap, but again, it's, you know, it's sort of got to get to the point where it start working more as the cellular type things, so you're not limited to, you know, being in a house or something like that. You can actually roam. So I'll start playing with that a little bit. So that's a goal.
You win. Cool.
Yeah. They started as Spark.
Yeah, Spark. That's right.
They
yeah.
started as Spark, and they
call it
had
Spark
the
Core.
Spark Core.
Spark Core.
Yes.
Right.
I've got a couple of Spark Cores, and then they moved on to
The ID is on the web, on
Yeah.
the web page.
Yeah. And I know you go back and pull up the web page. You get stuff like I had an old Proton. I actually had 3 of them, but I can only find one. But I claimed them all, and when I go to, and you can go on your phone or you can go on, you know, on the desktop, and you can see all the devices that you actually claimed. And Microsoft works in a similar way with the
Azure.
Yeah, with the
Yeah.
Azure and with the Sphere, Azure Sphere. They work the same way, and that's how they maintain that security of data going back and forth to, you know, to the website and also back to the component.
The only I found Azure to be hard to set up, like confusing,
Yeah,
like confusing.
yeah.
Where
That's right. Don't make it worse.
where Particle, it was pretty much
Yeah. And
pretty
that's-
much a piece of cake to set up.
And that's usually Microsoft, you know, how it basically Microsoft works, right? I mean, they give you the, you know, the kitchen sink and everything, and they focus on one specific thing that'll give you, you know, so it makes it real simple. But Microsoft, the IoT part of it, they call IoT Hub, is part of their whole cloud structure. Where Particle, this is all they did. They focused on that one particular thing, and they've seemingly done a good job. I think they've had their 3rd round of investments coming in, and I forget what it was, some millions of dollars or something they got just recently.
Those are all the devices I've got claimed.
You're-
I don't know how
oh,
to.
you got a Xenon, you got a Proton, you have
An Argon.
Yeah,
I got
so-
2 Xeons.
now. I want to bring every. Oh, when was this? You had a Proton that was communicating on July the 9th.
Yeah.
July
I rarely use them.
Right.
I've got 2 Photons. I've got 2 Raspberry Pis, 2 Xeons, an Argon, 2 Red Bears,
What the heck's a Red Bear Dual?
and I thought I had another core. I think there was another core somewhere. Bluetooth. It was a third party company that they eventually absorbed. But the devices look like particle, like photons.
Right.
But they're just Bluetooth, not Wi-Fi. And you program, you have to connect it to your phone, and the IDE interfaces with your phone,
Right.
and then programs the devices. It's a weird setup.
Now the Xenon is what? Xenon is that?
That's mesh.
Okay, so that was mesh. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what they-
So the
that's what it was
argon,
mesh,
the
right.
argon, and the two Xeons
Right,
form
the
a mesh.
Yeah, but the Xenon is actually the hub part of it, or the.
The argon is the hub,
is it-
and the Xeons are the imports.
Okay. Yeah.
So
So what are you going to GPS track?
Anything and everything.
he doesn't
What do
know.
you mean? What kind of question is that?
He doesn't know.
Gee whiz.
Like a
Gosh.
car or
No, I mean, this number one is
walking around or
no, it's every. I mean, it's all the above. I think.
Oh.
You know, it's to get the technology so you can do it first of all, and like I've done the thing where you guys saw the video where pull up in the car and the car picks up based on the car entering the area, so it's almost geofencing,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
But now it says okay, now if you do the GPS, there's no limit. You can track whatever the heck you want. It's just basically tracking whatever.
Are you
want to track.
tracking me?
I will be.
I could.
But then and
Anybody tied into the phone service can do that right now.
yeah,
right?
really. With the phone, you gotta know it's phone. You gotta know the phone. But it's really just. I mean, it's like anything else we do. It's that you sort of have, I will say, a need, but you have curiosity, I would say, and you want to go. And I've always wanted, because it'd be nice to just say, okay, you can put this GPS on the system and you can track them. If I want to track, my dog, or want to track a kid, your kid's out, in the amusement park.
I don't think you want to know about what the kids do.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
I do.
Cat would be interesting.
A cat would really be interesting. What? I can't believe he went there.
Yeah, we have cats.
Yeah, the neighbors were right.
Self-driving cars too. That's where it's going.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, it's all the above. Once you be able to do it, it's like, okay, what do I want to track? What do I want to track today?
Biggest
But I can
thing-
see, I can
Trash
see.
can transport.
Yeah.
There you go.
Thing I think would be neat is just being able to control your locks and stuff on the house, saying, hey, your car's coming into the property, start turning on the lights and
Yeah. It's-
unlock the doors, or
yeah.
I think that'd be a neat feature. Chris, I know you got, well, he made it to, they had Daryl speak last night, Highland or whatever, and he reverse engineers IoT devices for Rapid7,
Yeah.
and he was doing the Harvard or hardware lock for the doors.
For the doors?
Yeah.
Right.
And so he'd sliced the circuit board and wired into him so that it was
Oh.
going through his computer, so he could try to track the keys and stuff and see how the wireless talks to the EMU or whatever and sends the data
Oh.
to the website control, so if they can replay code back at the chip, whether it'll
Oh.
unlock the doors. It was pretty interesting talk. But one of the things that they were looking at,
Let
the
your dog in when he's close.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, you unlock it when he's close and don't have to have it unlocked all the time.
all the keys are, at least with that particular lock, don't expire. So you could replay them back if you could figure out how to inject into the communication line to the device. But that's the trick part, right? It's how do you?
Yeah, that's the scary part about the door locks. I mean, I don't feel comfortable putting those. I really, truly don't. I mean, unless you have it's like a near field connection or something like that.
Yeah.
Like just to unlock your door is that's scary.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the like Slave, I think it is. They allow you to. How do they do it? They allow you to lock the door, but they don't allow you to unlock it. Some of the companies that are doing locks, and they may change it later on, but right now they're saying, okay, you can lock the door, but you can't unlock it, remotely.
Right.
You can't unlock it remotely, but you can lock it remotely.
Well, and that's what's interesting is so he does a lot of. He buys locks and pairs and stuff like that, and one of the companies he wouldn't tell us because of course the manufacturer wouldn't accept his research, but supposedly it was the only lock he's been able to unlock
Yeah.
because supposedly a lock pairs to the base station, and that's all it can do.
Right.
But he was able to get it to pair to 2 locks, and when it's paired, like, so he could take his thing that was paired to this lock and then pair it to somebody else's lock, and then for 40 minutes he can lock or unlock that other lock, and then something happens and then it quits working. So that was kind of freaky.
That's scary.
So if you could take the base station, you know, for that particular brand, which he didn't tell us which it was, but like the hardware, I forget what the name was. It started with an H. He's not found a way to breach this, and in a lot of ways, he says, you know, they're a lot safer than a lot of people think they are, just from the standpoints of, you know, if somebody's going to break in, they're probably not going to bother hacking your lock. They're just going to kick the door in, and ultimately, instead, the convenience features of it are so much nicer. He's already put them on his door, you know.
Yeah, and I think, but the other problem is that if someone just decides to hack multiple door and just like, indiscriminately. Yeah. I mean, they're overseeing, they all of a sudden get into them and they just like unlock doors. It's like it becomes that opportunity issue more so than anything. Somebody comes to your door, oh, the door's open. You're on vacation or something. Oh, the door's open. Of course, you hope to get email back in and say, okay, your door's unlocked or something.
Was it Hillman? Was it Hillman?
It's Daryl Highland.
Oh, I thought you said
Oh, you
something.
mean the brand? Yeah, it started with an H. It's in his slide deck. I could find out if you
Because
really want
Hillman
to.
is a local company, I
But
think.
it's like Harwood or something. Harwood. I mean, there's a dozen different companies.
Well, this
that
one's
start with it.
local, I think. They advertised on the radio the other day
But
about the locks.
what I thought was interesting too was the. So my buddy was in from Seattle, and somebody came. He had a Ring. He's put in a Ring doorbell, but he also has one of these smart locks like he was showing in his thing. And some guy came up to his house while he was at my house. Stood there 15 minutes with his phone, like he was trying to scan for it, or you know, and then tried to open his door and then walked off. And the whole time he's on the Ring recording, you know, you know, so he wasn't wearing a mask or anything. Like, that's pretty blatant, you know.
Where's Nut? Where's our helmet? We're gonna turn you into Job Family Services. She's like,
whoa.
Yeah, no, I'm like, man,
His
check it
seatbelt.
out. She's having a ball. How old is she now?
She's 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got her set up with a iPad that does like programming.
4x4.
Yeah, she'll go,
Hillman.
she'll go to school and say, what did you
Cincinnati.
do this weekend?
It wasn't Hillman.
No, I know, but
She
these
all
guys
the
are on
time
the
she says,
radio.
"Can I ride it? Can I ride it? Can I
Their
ride it?"
product's called Key Hero. Did you
That was a
And you
mistake.
say no, and it's no.
I was like, that was a mistake. Why did I let you ride this?
So it says now with the simplicity of smartphone app, you never have to be locked out of your house again, or call a locksmith. So
Unless somebody else has your phone.
She's
Well, I'm not saying it's secure.
at this
They're
point she's
selling
chasing
it.
dinosaurs.
They're selling it. Hillman Group is in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And they have one called Key Hero that apparently you can unlock it from your smartphone app.
Right. Yeah.
Well, what I thought was neat too is like, so when I visited him, I just had to know the key code. You know, I didn't have to have a lock or a key to get in and out of the house. So I could go, like, you hold the one button and it locks the door, and then come back and punch in the code and could get back in. It was pretty nice.
Like a 5-digit code, or like
That was 4. I mean, but
yeah.
It's nice. I mean, convenience is nice.
I bought a Bluetooth lock, like a master lock.
mhm.
That thing is the most hackable thing I have ever seen in my life.
Well, it's Bluetooth. This is the first part of the problem.
There are plenty of
I was
hacks
like,
in YouTube.
okay, this might be cool just to play with, but I would never put it on like my storage shed or something. Somebody walked by, click.
Well,
Oh,
as I
it's
say,
open.
Does Master Lock actually ever make a lock that's not?
It's not a master lock. It was made by somebody else, but it looks like a master lock.
Yeah. Well, as I say, I don't know a Master Lock that holds up to anybody with a freaking hairpin, hardly. So.
Wow. I mean, any of those really, you could probably just take a nice pair of bolt cutters and go.
Well, there's that too. But
When I
now,
was in the Army, we all had to have one specific master lock. And people were locking their keys in their locker constantly. And you could spin it over, and the bunk beds had a steel tube between them. Take one of those, pink, you hit it in the right spot, it would open
Pop open.
it. No damage whatsoever, you could still use it.
Yep.
They were horrible locks. They still are.
Well, as I say, I
Well, this
didn't
Bluetooth
realize
lock-
how bad locks were until a couple of years ago.
This Bluetooth lock. I
He
mean,
probably knows more.
somebody.
Okay.
I don't know diddly squat really about hacking any of that stuff, and I just was like, let's see, and I went click, click, click. Oh, that was easy. So I'm like, okay, I'm glad I only paid $4 for this lock.
Ooh, a $4 Bluetooth lock?
Well, it was actually like a $40 or $50 Bluetooth lock
Mm-hmm.
that apparently nobody bought, and they were clearancing them out, and they had stacks of them for $4 a piece. And I bought one, and I'm glad I only bought one. So I was like, what the heck? It's $4. How far wrong can you go for $4?
They've got one that it's got a 4-way joystick on it, basically, that is technically pretty secure, but it has a plastic case with the screws exposed. It's like, it's an interesting thing.
This one, so you can plug in to the charging port, and it shows up as a serial port on your.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's kind of
Okay.
what I said too. Kind of like, okay, you still kind of need to know the right protocol or whatever, but there it is.
You know,
What did your neighbor say? That's out there again.
My neighbor, he was out there building a front porch in the backyard. See, he's building a front porch in the backyard.
nice.
They moved. They took that front porch and moved it around to the front and put it on the house. I don't know why they just didn't build it from the
Now it's
front.
called a deck. That's right.
I don't know.
It was a front porch. Now it's a deck.
Oh, the trailer park got rid of 4 or 5 trailers in there. My guess is they went over and took the deck before, and then they modified it to work for their house. They're the assistant manager or something, so I guess they can get away with stuff. She has a good time. She's actually a good helper. We are currently playing Mario because every morning we come in and we want to play Super Mario World. And she goes home at night and apparently watches YouTube videos about how to play and comes back and kicks my butt in it every single time.
You're not going to be able to keep up with her reaction time.
Well, you need to-
Our focus.
or her just plain ordinary stubbornness. She's if you don't follow her lead, you'll hear about it because she's the leader. And there she is. I probably would get in all kinds of trouble, wouldn't I? I mean, she's pumping gas.
And you're
He
using
doesn't
your
do
phone.
anything anymore.
Do what?
And you're using your phone.
And I'm using my phone.
At a gas station.
What? Is that a bad thing?
When she learns to go, we won't need Leroy anymore.
You think he can be replaced
Yeah.
Easily.
by a 4-year-old? Okay.
Yeah. Please replace me with a 4-year-old.
Because allegedly a cell phone can make the fumes explode.
Oh, that's a myth.
Well, he was looking for his lighter.
Yeah.
Mythbusters busted that a long time ago.
When I was in Cleveland, there was a woman in a car ahead of me at this gas station, and she was overflowing the gas tank, and she didn't know how to shut off the thing. Yeah, and gas was going all over, so I ran over and I took it from her and said, don't ever use one of these again. No, but then I had gasoline on my shoes, and it was a mess. I went back into work, and yeah, they could get gasoline all over my clothes and my shoes. Yeah, I've never seen that before. That was the only time I've ever seen that. Somebody. It was kind of, it felt dangerous.
Yeah.
You were smoking?
Was it latched on? Or
I guess. I mean, I wasn't really thinking about it. I was tending to my own, car, and then I saw this gasoline coming down the side, and she was still there and didn't. I don't know. It was very odd. I didn't.
Two of the pumps at the Kroger's that we get gas at, where Patty works, won't shut off. They actually they will shut off if they get backed up or whatever, but the latches never unlatch.
Huh. I
They never pop back to.
Wow.
You mean the handle or the flow of fuel?
Well, the flow will eventually stop.
It'll kick off.
30,000 gallons later.
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't pop the handle.
Yeah, I didn't.
But it doesn't pop the handle.
I wasn't comfortable
Like-
with the word
like it-
eventually either.
Yeah.
I've told them about it a couple of times, and they're just kind of like,
There is automatically.
when maintenance comes, we'll tell them.
Yeah. It costs too much to have a guy come out to fix
It's
them
40 gallons or something.
because it's on their dime and they don't want to spend it.
They said every time I've told them about it, when maintenance shows up, we'll tell them. Which means something bigger has to actually happen before they will fix the small
Well, they
stuff.
probably don't
Another
even
reason to
report
come.
any of the problems, so the pumps really aren't usually their responsibility, and they don't want to spend a dime to have them fixed. So
Hmm.
They don't even want to spend a dime to put a roll of paper in it,
yeah,
print out a receipt.
Hmm.
That's my pet peeve.
yeah.
If I've got to pump my own gas and then I have to walk in for a receipt, I am angry.
Yeah, I don't get that either.
Worry about a receipt.
Oh, I always print a receipt.
Oh yeah.
Yep. I've had 2 friends that don't get receipts that the one was at a UDF, one was at a Sunoco, I think, and they didn't see him swipe his card. They called in and said he didn't pay, and if you don't have a receipt to show that you did, it's going to take you a while to talk through that one.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
I always get the receipt. Plus, I write down my mileage on the receipt. I track my miles per gallon.
Yeah.
Well, if you go in, then they're hoping you buy more stuff while you're in the store.
Probably I don't.
No, I don't either.
Do you not?
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah.
I just go in because I don't trust the pump.
You mean you pay inside, or?
Pay inside.
Mhm.
Yeah, you have to
So
wait
do you
for
feel
the
better about it
receiver.
now that they have the chip?
I was just say
With
you,
the-
you
with the
trust the
chip is-
attendant more than you.
Someone's standing there.
That's a good point.
I like the chip if the chip actually works. But
American chips are junk.
yeah, but most of the time,
They already know it's crap. I don't understand why they're, European are like 9 generations further ahead than the Americans, but the American credit card companies don't want to pay for those higher end cards.
So can they hack? What's wrong with the chip, like on my Visa card? What's wrong with it?
There's no security in it at all.
Well, who can hack it?
Anybody.
Anybody?
I thought that was an actual computer and that it generated a number. And there was a series to the number. Are you saying it's just
I'm sending
serial memory
video
and it's reading out?
to your mail of the multitasking.
okay.
What's all the chips?
Check it. I can send you.
It's basically an RFID doohickey, and they could be faked so bad it's not funny.
Well, no. I'm talking about the ones with the contact ones.
Yeah.
That's not RFID.
Pretty sure they are.
They're not
No,
radio frequency.
Yeah, I wouldn't think it
They're
would
no
be.
radio. They're
It's an
contact
ID.
device on there.
Yeah.
It's a low range.
I thought that
It's
there
something
was a
different.
No.
three-way
Yeah.
handshake. I thought that when you inserted it, the card was given a key from the credit provider.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the card used that to send back a encrypted number that was information about your card, and then it
Does the
got
check
back a
yes.
receipt that said, okay, that
Well, that's
turns
the
out.
thing. So they can take this card and overlay that thing that always does a positive playback as yes,
Oh, really?
yes.
The chip encrypts information to increase data security when making transactions at storage
Oh.
terminals.
So that's the big.
No, how do they do it? So like if I
So
put mine in a
It will
gas
say
pump,
yes to whatever number comes back. Right?
what's it? What when you say it will say yes?
Because it's doing the checksum to make sure that it's a legit transaction, but they can. They said that's such a simplistic thing
This is what it was
that
doing.
they're relying on that it can just say yes on a fake card.
Okay.
So
Nice.
it's a joke. I mean, it was busted before it was even. They knew it was an issue before they even started releasing them. That's why I don't understand, and that's why a lot of places don't enforce them.
So
Because
what-
if they
what-
start taking those, they're liable if they're frauded. Right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of a funny catch-22. But yeah, there's a guy that comes to the ISSA meetings sometimes as part of he works for some company starts with a C, but they globally make credit cards. And he said, it's like America's generation of credit cards is like 17 steps behind what Europe's using.
Yeah.
And that is just, is because the Visa and MasterCard are willing to eat the fraud charges than pay for people to have a secure credit card.
I know at least 5 or 6 years ago, one of the European cards actually generated a one-time pass. It had a push button and an LCD display and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know what.
the Swiss bank interaction card fraud.
If you use mobile pay, it does something more similar to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's probably why you're getting stuff like Apple Pay and stuff, because that's become kind of a big thing over in China, is just cardless transactions with a phone and a QR code, because then you can verify, yeah, that QR code was made by my phone.
Well,
And
okay, so the QR codes now, like the way the Chinese do it, the QR codes now, they kind of have this issue now where they have to dial back all of the static QR codes. So the initial reason they adopted QR codes is because like they could get everybody to use them because you didn't actually need a machine on the other end.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a way to propagate that payment system without having to give everyone devices. Now the static ones are being used for fraud, and now they have to get rid of the static ones and replace those with devices, which is
Maybe.
So what are the static
Great.
ones? What are the static ones?
okay.
Are they paper?
So in China, a lot of the payments are like they don't actually have like a cash register there. What they have is like they have a sticker.
Like a paper. Yeah.
Like where you do the payments, and like they probably you know the shop owner probably has a phone or something, but they don't use that. They don't use that all the time because it's a hassle. So they just put a sticker right there, and the customer scans it and they send the payment. Because that sticker is static, there's nothing really stopping someone from putting another sticker there.
Yeah.
So now the static ones, the ones that are the stickers, are starting to be used for fraud. So now they have to replace all those devices. So now a lot of them are getting replaced by. It's weird. It's like they have these little boxes which generate QR codes, and you put your phone over them, and your camera looks down into them. It's strange. Like that's how they're doing it without having an actual thing there, and that's the solution they're going with. But like, it's only for the static ones that are a problem. Like the dynamic ones basically do something similar to how you do NFC pay, so it's not as susceptible to that. But yeah.
This is something that Vicente was working on. Oh, music and everything.
7 tasks.
That's it.
So is it multi-threaded or
Huh?
is it
Multitask.
multitask,
Yeah, there is a scheduler that is slicing the time.
Right, okay.
And
based on priority or something, you have to
Yes.
set a priority?
giving time to each task to run for a while. Every task must have infinite loop, always working.
Yeah.
You want to do things slow, you can use delays, but a special delay of the operating system
Yeah.
that tells the operating system, okay, I'm done. I will continue in 50 milliseconds. Take the control for another one, and this is the way.
What is that extra noise I'm hearing? Are you driving a motor with that too?
No, what?
It's like
noise?
a.
At the end, it sounds like
It sounds like
Car
a
in the
drum roll
background.
or something.
a motor.
The fan of my computer.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh.
The video board is making noise.
Driving a motor right there.
No, but this is the click of the.
Oh, you mean the background? There was a white noise in the background.
So do you set a priority for each task when you create each individual task? Does it have a priority number? Like
Yes, you can put all the tasks are priority number 2 and OTA is number 1. When you want to send a